Boys and girls, Mr. and Lady, thank you all for tuning into Kinetic Aesthetic. I am your host, Germ, and today let's talk about Drake. And honestly, not just Drake, let's talk about the whole Young Money. Because Young Money is a group that if you are anybody that's around that same age that I am, maybe a little younger, definitely a little older, you all know all about Lil Wayne, you know all about Drake, you know all about Nicki, you know all about even some of the lesser known people, Gutta Gutta, Tigers, the Chucky, and shit, we all know Birdman. But Young Money was one of the most influential and just powerful groups in the music world from pretty much basically about the mid 2000s all the way to I want to say pretty much the end of the 2010s. They pretty much held popular culture in a chokehold. Like I mean, Lil Wayne was the biggest rapper alive. Definitely, I want to say from like '07 at least till 2011, probably a little longer than that. Drake pretty much came right after him and pretty much took that crown and held that shit down. And we're just now really, I guess, seeing the end of his run. And Nicki is, for all intents and purposes, in my opinion, I'm gonna just leave it as an opinion. She is the greatest female rapper of all time. Nobody has done it better than her. Nobody has done it bigger than her. Nobody has surpassed the heights that she has. Lil Kim definitely is definitely like she definitely belongs to be in that conversation. It's not like just some you can just say Nicki and not say anybody else, but I think Nicki comfortably like took everything that Lil Kim did and she surpassed it. And that's why it's so crazy that to see where they all have fallen to now in comparison to where they were back in 2011, comparison back to just 2009, and even like just the end of 20 into the 2010s. They all are a shell of themselves. Drake is on the tail end of getting his ass whooped in the biggest high profile rap battle of all time, having pretty much his name be associated with pedophilia, and he just lost a lawsuit that he filed after losing that rap battle. So that's a whole conversation within itself. Nicki is going through her Kanye arc, where she is basically just spending a lot of her time on social media, constantly beefing with other people, having this deranged obsession with Jay-Z and Rock Nation and how they are trying to destroy her somehow. And you've got Wayne, who it's crazy. Wayne is honestly the one that I have the least negative things to say about, but Wayne, unfortunately, he's aged terribly. All the shit that he used to hear about the lean and all the drugs he was doing has definitely caught up to him to the point where I'm not sure. I don't want to just throw this out there, but he definitely got caught with heroin a couple years ago. And yeah, nobody else has been doing that great. I mean, shit, Tyga was the first one to get the pedophilia thing attached to his name after the whole Kylie Jenner little thing he had going on. We'll get about that eventually. And then you got Birdman, who, yeah, he made the money off of all of them. He definitely exploited them to the best of his ability. But shit, I mean, he's a man nearing his 60s with a giant red star on the top of his head. I don't necessarily know if he is where you want to be at that age in life either. And that's just really all there is to say when it comes to Young Money. And like I said, it's been inspiring me to just come up with this idea. What happened? What led to this downfall of these titans in popular culture, and how did they end up where they are? And I think that's what I want to explore over this next couple of weeks. That's why we're going to be looking at this series as the death of Young Money, the rise and the fall. And first off, I did want to talk about Drake. And Drake is the one that is definitely he still is pretty much, as much as I want to say he's fallen off completely, the nigga is still Drake. Like as much as people want to say Iceman has like been underwhelming in terms of promotion and the hype don't feel the same, that's true. But at the same time, not hype Drake album is still feels and is way bigger than 99% of other artists' shit. But Drake is a giant example of what I feel like happens when you get to a point where you stop having anybody that challenges you around. You start just having nothing but yes men. And you see that happen to so many people. You see it be the falter and the folly of so many successful artists and individuals. But with Drake, it's been so apparent because pretty much every problem that Drake has had over the past couple years has been self inflicted. I saw somebody bring it up earlier when they were talking about the beef and how this whole angle that Kendrick had to make a whole song about Drake being a potential pedophile and a culture vulture, these are all things that Drake himself brought up first in the beef. In the Tupac AI song, I want to say that was Tailor Made freestyle. It was Drake using the AI Tupac voice that introduced the idea that this nigga Drake liked younger women, that he was into girls that were definitely not his age. That was not Kendrick just fishing somewhere. That wasn't him just like looking into memes or just noticing shit. That was Drake himself. I don't think Drake ever realized that the general public didn't think about that shit. I just think the real thing, like the song with Kendrick really just sums up the big thing about Drake and that's been throughout his entire career is that he just does not understand how to really ingratiate himself naturally. He's never been like us. And I don't mean just like American blacks. I don't mean like niggas in the hood. I don't mean any of that. I don't mean he's just never been a secure, comfortable within his own skin type of person. And it's so clear, it's so obvious with the way that he's carried himself throughout the years. And it's hard to really like explain that to people to get that, especially when he was on top, because I heard it from a lot of people. Drake reminds me of me or how I would be if I got that type of success or if I was living like that. And I always sort of understood that because Drake, Kendrick, and J. Cole, the reason why those three are at the top of the rap game, why they've been hailed as the three kings of the last decade of this rap shit, is because they are, even when you can say that Drake is a character, Drake has never felt like he wasn't being himself. And for better or for worse, I've always felt that, that's just who Drake is. Drake is probably just a lame and corny nigga who's just also insanely musically talented. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with not being Mr. Cool Guy or too cool for school and all that shit. And real people, really, at the end of the day, I don't think people really like that or really relate to that. That's cool if you are just trying to escape or you just want to be or you want to be a character. But when people want real shit, they're gonna go to somebody that's relatable, that's honest, that is themselves. Drake, I feel like for Drake, for the early part of his career, knew how to not only do that with the way he carried himself, but he knew how to do that with his music. Take Care, uh, Thank Me Later. These are all projects where I don't feel like I was seeing Drake try to live up to this mafioso, I'm a boss, I'm this, I'm that, and I'm tough type shit. And I really don't know when that started. I want to say that it was this is a personal take. I know I see a lot of people try to say that it started on If You're Reading This, It's Too Late, where he started to try to act like he was a mafia boss, like he was doing this or that, and he was just he had a lot more toughness to him. I see it, but at the same time, for some reason I just don't feel like at that point it wasn't a bad thing. And I want to say maybe that was because, and I'm brainstorming this as I'm recording. I want to feel like maybe it was because that was the first time we had seen Drake sort of lean into that bag, dip into that, and it felt cool. It felt different. The same reason why I like Drake's album with the house music and everything. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Maybe that's a problem with the Drake problem projects within themselves. That it's hard to remember some of the names. But what I remember about that album was that it was so fresh and it was so different from what Drake was usually giving us, and that was what made me appreciate it and like it so much at the time. And before that, Drake was not that Take Care or Nothing Was the Same were similar or were just like repetitive, because I wouldn't say that at all. His first three projects, his whole first entry into the game, honestly, up until Views, was all great. Like, we're going to have a lot of revisionist history. We're going to have a lot of people say over the years, because of everything that's happened, Drake never had classics. Drake never put anything great out. That's not true. That is not true. This man has given us great, timeless music. He's given us shit that I'm going to want to listen to 30 years from now. The problem is that somewhere along the line, he lost himself. He lost himself in the sauce. He started to buy into his own hype, and I really do think that he got afraid of what would happen if he just took time off. The biggest problem with Drake's music, in addition to him trying to become something that he wasn't and trying to be a little bit too tough or just do too much with some of his songs, was that he never took the time to go away to make motherfuckers miss him, and more importantly, to gain more material to actually talk about, to gain some more interesting things and gain some more perspectives. I don't think Drake has really had the time to have self-reflection over the past decade, because he's always trying to just stay on top, to stay number one. And that works if you're playing sports. That works if you're doing shit that's truly competitive, that requires you to be in your physical prime. Music is not like that. With music, you need to take the time off. You need to do that. You need to go and experience new things. You need to Kendrick Lamar, between fucking Mr. Morale and Damn, the nigga went to therapy. When you actually do the work, the shadow work, to really work on yourself and figure out shit, that's how you're able to come up with better art. Art is not sport in the traditional sense. Yes, it can be competitive when it comes to making music shit, but that does not mean that it is going to require the same work philosophy, the same type of work ethic that art would. that actual physical sport would. And I think that Drake's never understood that, and that's a big part of why he's gotten to the point that he has. I don't think that Drake's career, like I said, is done in any way, shape, or form. I think he is still going to continue to have success, but I don't know if that run is still going to be there. I don't know if he's going to be able to do that, because now you have that L on your record. Now, even if you do take a break and you go and you retreat into the background, now niggas just gonna say you just did it because you couldn't handle taking the loss. Now you don't have the luxury of saying I just wanted to take a break from all this. And that is a big part of what Drake's problem is and what is going to be going forward. Because I don't know how you recover. I don't know. Number one, again, I don't know how you work with a record label after you done sued their ass and lost. Like, they can come out and say whatever they want about, we're still going to promote Drake, we're still going to work with Drake, we're still going to do this and that, but it's not going to be the same. Things are not going to be the same for this man. It is not going to be the same for him in the music industry already. Now that we've seen how motherfuckers really felt about him, it's crazy, because just 2 years ago, Drake was in the driver's seat. Drake was the nigga that we were all ready to have just let go away. That's at the point we were at. Like, I don't. That is another big part of what led to this man's downfall, is the fact that Drake just never really understood. He couldn't read the room. Like, by the time For All the Dogs came out, I just remember just even listening to that album and just being like, this is Drake now. This is what he's going to give us. We're going to get this every year or every 1.5 years, and that's to his own detriment, because that his legacy is going to be fast food. It's not going to be all the great shit that he gave us in the beginning. We'll always have the YOLO. We'll always have all the classic songs that he gave us at the front of it. But it's not going to drown out. You're not going to drown out Not Like Us. That was a bigger moment than I feel like anything Drake has ever done. You just had your biggest rival just like clown you at the Super Bowl. It is going to be hard for him to salvage his legacy. Time may heal all wounds, but time will not make motherfuckers forget. And so I don't necessarily know where Drake goes from here. I don't know if there's a move he can make aside from going independent that is going to, just try to get the public to really fuck with him and support him again. And I say going independent because at this point, maybe just trying to make, like, he's already tried to make himself out to be the good guy when it comes to going against the label. That didn't work. Motherfuckers saw through that. So he's gonna have to really just do self-reflection. He needs to honestly take a freak ocean. He needs to just focus on himself, focus on being a father, focus on doing all the little things. Let life happen for a little bit without you being the star of the show, without you having to be doing this music shit, because it's time for a break for Drake. It's time. Like, he had a great run from starting out in 2007. Pretty much had the first album in 2009, if I'm not mistaken, and then 2011. From 2011, I would say Drake was the biggest rapper with Take Care. He was the biggest rapper in the world. So this man has had a good decade plus of just being on top, of being number one. It's okay to take a little rest now, Drake, for your own sake. For motherfuckers that fuck with you, that are actually consider themselves fans, I think it's time for him to really just leave and take a break. After Iceman, again, Iceman does not look promising. It hasn't shown me anything or heard anything. I have not really even listened to the promos or watched these little promo episodes shit that he's doing. I've listened to the songs, but I've not listened to any of the or watched any of the fucking videos, because I just don't have any interest in it. And I don't think a lot of other people do either. That's why it doesn't feel like there's a Drake album dropping. Like, I remember for Scorpion, this man was having celebrities wearing fucking bomber jackets that had that shit on the back, and it was big. It was an event when it felt like that album was starting to come out, and not anymore. So that's all I really got to say about Drake and about his fall. I'm gonna do Nicki Minaj next. She, like I said, is in a whole conversation amongst herself about where she's fucking up in her and just salvaging and managing her legacy. But that's all I really have to say. This has been Kinetic Aesthetic. I would like to say, just make sure you like, follow, subscribe on whatever platform that you're listening to me in on. And have a great rest of your day. Drink more water. And don't talk to minors if you are a grown-ass adult. If you ain't related to them, you ain't got nothing to do when having a conversation with them. Don't be like Drake. Because if Drake would have listened to that, if he wouldn't have been out here texting Millie Bobby Brown, he wouldn't have given himself, he wouldn't be in this situation, man. He just wouldn't. Niggas gotta learn. It's Connect Sec. Y'all have a good rest of your night.